to be patient, to embrace absurdity, to endure the burdens of life in vain, or to accept defeat and turn my back on humanity for one last, eternal time. This is my struggle. Absurdity, defined by Camus, is the divorce between man and his life. It is characterized as a meaningless existence in the face of a pointless struggle. A burden both emotional and physical. He admits, "This world I can touch, and I likewise judge that it exists. There ends all my knowledge, and the rest is construction." But this is all a grand abstraction. It is the struggle of merely grappling the concept of living a life that is meaningless, of having knowledge that is limited. However, Camus doesn't end there. He makes this much more intimate, much more specific. He makes it social. Men, too, secrete the inhuman. At certain moments of lucidity, the mechanical aspect of their gestures, their meaningless pantomime makes silly everything that surrounds them. He makes it economic. Rising streetcar, 4 hours in the office or factory, meal, streetcar, 4 hours of work, meal, sleep, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, according to the same rhythm. He even compares the torture and pointless labor of Sisyphus to the average worker under capitalism. He calls Sisyphus the proletarian of the gods. My struggle, strangely, is not the struggle of Sisyphus. Buried in this text are assumptions due to the particular way it was concluded. Sisyphus had no way out, and Camus imagined him content. The assumptions are that of necessity and acceptance. This makes sense if we are talking about life isolated or divested of the social realm. That is the aspect of life that we cannot change. Being unchangeable is the only condition that can be considered necessary to accept. Camus didn't restrict his discourse to discussing that of life as a general concept. He explicitly used examples of socio-economic relations under capitalism. He even made Sisyphus proletarian. Camus, being a libertarian socialist and having acknowledged that all but the world he could touch is constructed, should have known that there is nothing necessary about capitalism. He should have known that conflating the acceptance of life's burdens and the acceptance of burdens under capitalism have two entirely different implications. And one must ask, how much of a burden would life be outside of capitalism anyway? My struggle is knowing that I suffer as a result of a game. A game no different than a hot potato or the floor is lava. It is a game governed by a set of rules mandating social relations and behavior. It is a game composed of imaginary conceptions that have real-world consequences. In the case of Sisyphus, it is a boulder that isn't really there. Unlike hot potato and the floor is lava, the set of rules also govern material production and distribution, the creation and allocation of the necessities of life. This is a game that creates more problems than it solves. It's a game we can simply stop playing, but you won't, and we all suffer for it. In a world where there are more empty houses than homeless people, in a world where the amount of food that we waste would feed the world several times over, capitalism is not only unnecessary, but absurd. Capitalism is the absurd. We could easily replace most labor with automation, allow free access to resources, and reduce the struggle of life to a mere conceptual indulgence. Of course, it would take a bit of social conditioning to reach that point, and the realistic first step is socialism. But there would be no point in stopping there. Even socialism can be improved, It is not some immutable, absolute finality. It is a developmental process. It is merely conceptual. Marx, in his timeless genius, contributed one of the most enlightening works of capitalist analysis ever seen in modern times. Many of his theories proved true. Many of his predictions have come to fruition. However, there is the transformation problem. His solution, that labor value cannot be translated directly into value in terms of money or price, without factoring in T, the transformation factor. What was the problem that led to the transformation problem to begin with? Was it a problem with Marx's logical analysis? His mathematics? No. It was his core assumptions. Labor does create value, but not in any quantitative sense. It is simply that there would be no commodity to sell at all without the labor used to create it. The reason why labor value doesn't translate into price is the human variable. Capitalists aren't operating according to any inherent mathematics guiding aspects of the economy. They are acting on their incentives, their whims. They have an incentive to accumulate as much wealth as possible because it translates into power. The prices they set for commodities and the wages they pay to workers are governed by what they can get away with. What defines what they can get away with is how much they can increase the price of commodities and how much they can decrease wages without harming, preferably increasing, the rate of profit, which functions as the bottom line. In this interpretation, all profit still belongs to the workers, which was Marx's goal when he set out writing about the origins of surplus labor value in the volumes of Capital. Because the product of their labor is what allowed the profit to exist. The only problems arise when you attempt to quantitatively determine a commodity's inherent value. The social and material relations that make up an economy are more akin to the rules of a game than the laws of physics. There it is again. The rules of a game. An implicit, sometimes subconscious social contract to agree to the conditions that allow for the game to function. A game for which people starve. A game for which people are murdered. A game for which workers in third world countries are exploited. A game in which the only function is to determine, subjectively, who deserves and who doesn't deserve access to resources necessary for survival. This game is inherently corrupt, and the patience I referred to in the very first sentence of this video is a reference to the patience needed to give humanity a chance. A chance to show that it is a species that deserves to survive. A chance to those complicit to beg for forgiveness and wash the blood off their hands. And if we fail to redeem ourselves, I don't know if I'd be able to find the will to go on. Tier 3, Bobby Fischer.